finance work session. We'll forego the next meeting. Right now, we have Mr. Hamrick on the phone currently, and Superintendent Stutler. Turn it over to you.
Sure. Hopefully you've had a chance to look through the information that Mrs. Collins had given you at the last work session. There's a couple of things I want that's come up since then. I just want to run it by the board to see what your thoughts are. We did get a request, I think maybe the rest of the board received a request from possible assistant volleyball coaches for middle and high school. Where your thoughts are.
I brought this up last year, so
Yeah.
you know where my
That's
thoughts
right,
are.
yeah.
And
So, and we.
It surprised me when I saw that. I was glad to see it, but.
Right. So I know, and I actually responded back to her saying I know that it's been considered before, but we never had any action on it.
I'm fine. I mean, I would like to, I'm okay with all the staffing appropriately according to what we need for coaching.
Okay. I think it'll,
I went through the list of the extracurricular contracts that we looked at, and there's several extracurricular sports or whatever, extracurricular activities that only have a head.
see that sometimes that's what happens when you.
Cross-country, dance team, golf, tennis, along with volleyball. So I don't know. Or that in the mix, I don't know what you,
Is that for just this county or other counties?
this is ours, the list that you gave
That's
us.
in your book.
The extracurricular contract pay schedule, they gave to us, so I just went ahead and went through the ones that only had a head.
High schools have a head coach, don't they have an assistant too,
For what?
for volleyball?
No,
No, that's what we were
That's
talking
the
about.
issue.
so I was just wondering, why if you're gonna look at cross-country, then maybe, and the reasons behind cross-country, then maybe you need to look at the other ones, I don't know.
I think we've talked about this before, kind of wanting to review some of these things.
That's why I said we need to form a committee and study it.
But it's also monies out of where?
We don't know yet, 'cause
Well, it would be the excess
The
limit.
levy, that's right, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, it's been
Yeah.
from the levy too.
And I don't know enough that maybe Mr. Lopez might know for a high school golf team, you need an assistant to the head coach. Because generally it's a handful of kids.
That's right.
And we
You
have
have to
four
consider,
guys playing.
we're looking at an assistant
Maybe,
volleyball coach for the middle and the high school, because they're large numbers. They used to just be, it is growing. So they're dealing with a lot larger number of kids for supervision.
And I think I think in the past, what we relied on is volunteer assistants to help with the supervision. They can't directly supervise, but they can assist the coach. The conflict gets changing. that.
What
It's hard to
else?
supervise all those.
when I'm looking through the list, it says cross-country, dance, golf, and tennis, along with volleyball. Those were the sports that
We're
only had a
just looking
head
at the
coach.
ones that just have a head coach.
To possibly add.
As an assistant.
Do they have JV teams, for instance, in our county for tennis? Is dance line that large that you need the second person? I know volleyball definitely is one that needs it, but
We switched it
There
to
are
a
going to be-
boys and a girls head coach, because it used to just be one coach for tennis. That got changed last year,
yeah, so
yeah, but do we need an,
But
do you
does
need an
volleyball have a
assistant?
JV team?
Do you need an assistant?
Would
No,
you have-
if you would talk to a head coach, they would always like to have an assistant. But what is prudent, I'm not sure. At least you have one for both, male and female.
So is
That's
the
in
distinction
tennis.
between, for volleyball, is that volleyball has a varsity and a JV team?
Not all.
Oh,
most of them do though.
Well, I think it's growing, that's the
Yes,
point.
yeah.
They used to just really have a team.
Yeah, they start playing, more kids get more playing opportunities, which is a good problem to have. Then you keep more kids and you play more games, varsity and JV.
And
So
you
maybe
You also
that
gotta
would be the
remember how
underlying
many
factor.
we're putting out there.
Whether they have a
on the
JV team
on
or
the
not.
floor at a time.
But they do have, needs to where, for matches, I'm sorry, to where they do have possibly the JV would be somewhere else. Mrs. Knight, you can probably attest to that too. Or they at least have the same evening where the JV and the varsity would, so.
For volleyball.
Here's the other thing, I think it's really, from a coaching standpoint that you're talking about, it's gonna depend on numbers of students that come, I mean, because if you've got 10 volleyball players over at, RCB, and you've got 15 over at Lincoln, or it's 18 over at Lincoln, there may be a, need for an assistant coach. So, but my thing would be, let us find out what needs the assistant coaches, and then put a cost to it, and then ask Whitney to find out where, if that money is there. Until the next letting. That would be something that I would say we should probably start at that point. So I would say if personnel could check Superintendent Settler with the coaches who would need the assistant based on the numbers they have. Do we even have a set number to determine what?
I
Yes.
don't think so.
Yeah, that's the other thing
Never
too.
done that.
I mean,
As I said, maybe you go with the JV concept.
yeah, and how's that going to affect dance lines and cheerleading?
I think
Well,
it's
cheerleading has
probably
JV.
would.
they don't have-
For a long time, dance lines.
Yeah.
that's-
I don't think so, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
So you wouldn't have a JV, definitely wouldn't have a JV golf, I don't think. I don't.
Yes.
That's where we were with freshman football. And it was like, well, if you have enough kids to have freshmen, then you can keep the assistant freshmen. But then if you didn't have so many games scheduled, then that's an inexact science. As far as having a coach waiting, whether there's going to be a position for him or not, or her or not. So that's the only dilemma is, where's the cutoff? You have to have somebody hired ahead of time. And then, so they have 14 instead of 15, using that arbitrary number. So, well, at 14, now we got to tell the coach they can't help out. But can you do that from a personnel standpoint?
Not if you posted
Just
it.
recruit another player.
Well,
You
once
see
you,
what I mean? I'm just
Player.
giving you a little bit of logistics on it.
Yeah, I'm thinking cost-wise, we should look at it from a cost standpoint first.
Well, you're gonna have, I mean, this individual was, what you're talking about, was from South
The
Harrison.
one that put the request.
Right,
Yeah.
so we have South Harrison, you have Lincoln, that you know those two. And don't forget Robert C. Byrd, and if this all goes through, you're gonna have Liberty with them. So there's a great chance you're gonna have numbers there, or they should have that opportunity anyway. Because they both had teams before, so.
you're only gonna be able to play so many, I mean, you might have, for volleyball, you might have 12 girls playing. You might have as many as 15, I mean, you might have 30 that, want to play, but you will end up with a team.
Yeah, you have to have, I mean, you're gonna have numbers, that's all you can do. You have to come up with that.
And like I
Whatever
say,
that number is for volleyball.
I think we're here to the end of the season. I think it's something that we need to take a look at.
Is that something we can add?
We had,
We could like you said. Probably, and then we could just adjust the pay to add that. We wouldn't have a pay for that. We did look at the coaches' salaries and felt they're pretty in line with other counties our size.
What are you paying a head volleyball coach?
It's on there, 23.5, 22.
23,
So then
1380 per year.
you probably split that in half as an assistant. But none of
It's
these,
80% generally. It's usually 80% of what the head coach is
80%.
generally. It's kind of the rule. That's where they get these funny numbers with $20.
Well, once you get all your ducks in a row, then we need to sit down and go look overall. I mean, because if you look at the coaches' pay scales, I mean, they're crazy. I mean, you're paying $1,020. Where did that $20 come from?
80%.
Yeah, we've looked at those compared to other counties.
And the thing is, then you, if you want to, you ought to at least get everybody on a balanced area. I mean, if it's not 1,020, maybe it's 1,100, it's 1,200. And then you know how much money you got to work with. And I think that ought to be something we ought to do in the summer session when we have the summer,
Yeah, but if you include it in your budget sometime.
That's what I'm asking, if,
Yeah.
The other one is the, middle school assistant wrestling. There is no salary for them.
oh,
So do they have an
And
assistant?
middle school softball assistant. they have.
must have been on there at one time, or not. Oh, they just never had one for softball.
I don't figure those numbers are up there too, but.
Well, from a volleyball standpoint, if we would put a volleyball coach, assistant volleyball coach paid position, it's roughly gonna be what, $10,000? So if there's an availability of funds for that, I think that we could probably budget that into the schedule.
but when you do that, now you're gonna hear from every other coach, every other sport. Wait a minute, ours is just as important, so we want,
Well, if it's needed though.
I'm not saying it's not needed.
No, but I'm just saying, if it's needed and they can justify it, then you have to look at it.
So what,
Well, we can't justify anything until we know where the money's gonna come from to pay these
Well,
coaches.
there's excess levies, that's why.
What comes with the levy, but, you know, is there money in the levy that would allow that? Now, in the future levy call, you can put it in there.
Yeah, but she just said there was money available. Now,
I mean, I'm not against it, I'm just saying, we just don't wanna go over, you know, because every time I turn around, somebody's asking for a raise, they don't want a small raise, they want a big raise.
There's no assistant middle school soccer coach either.
is there, what about this? Over the summer, they're allowed to do their flex days and practices.
Yes.
And I know it's not required that the kids go, but if they did, could we get a kind of a number or an idea of how many? Because I would assume, most people that are going to show up to do the flex days are going to show up in, or most
Well,
kids are going to show
probably
up.
Not necessarily.
The problem with that is you might have more kids going to those practices or, okay, that may not make the team. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're on the team.
No, I understand that, but that gives us an idea of a number where we could potentially put a cost to say, hey,
Like middle school, and not to interrupt, but I don't know that all middle school programs do that. The summer flex days, they might do a few here and there, but that's not a consistent thing in middle school. So much as it is, I'm not sure all that volleyball. They might do some.
And the thing too is, now that's another thing that they've asked for. All these coaches they want to get paid for their flex days. So, I mean, when you open up a can of worms, you open up a can of worms.
Right.
And that's why I think it ought to be something that stays status quo at this point and over the summer, when we have our in-service meeting as a group, we look at all this and take it apart and come to some understanding. Yes, we're going to add an assistant volleyball coach for the high school and for the thing, and then what kind of money that, you know, you're going to give them. Pay them, because like I said, you pay one of them more than somebody else has been coaching and an assistant somewhere else, and they're coming back saying, wait a minute, you're paying them this, why can't we get a pay raise, you know?
Well, I think that if they have a JV team, obviously there's more games or events.
I don't know if
So-
high school volleyball back playing JV games.
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Like Mrs. Knight,
middle school plays some JV games as well.
yes, they do.
If they have a large.
If they've got large enough.
Okay,
So if they have, I would think if they would have a JV team, that would constitute more events, more,
Mhm.
individual practices also.
And usually the assistant coach
coaching the JV team.
Yeah.
JV team. Well, for the volleyball.
You're saying the assistant coach to the varsity coach does the JV team. Yeah.
It's like a basketball.
Yeah.
That's a good measure, looking at it.
Get the yearbook out. This past yearbook, get an idea, you can look and see the pictures.
They have a JV team now.
Right.
Yeah.
What about soccer
What you ran
teams?
this year, you're probably gonna.
Do they play JV as well?
I believe so. Fielding your player.
In middle school, you're gonna get the numbers. It's just a matter of how many kids that the coach chooses to keep on the team, because middle schools, kids wanna get involved, so you have more people that try out. They just wanna learn the sport or get involved. So
I think
you would
that's
have numbers.
in the request that we got for the volleyball for the middle school. I think that's what's happened. I think she's let them all kind of come and she's had a lot. So it's just been her,
Well,
you know, she's middle, the request that we got was a middle school request.
why don't you respond back to that? It's something that we, as
I
a
did
group, a board member,
tell her we would look at that.
you know, personnel and finance, and, you take a look at it, and we'll come up with an answer before school starts, before season starts. I mean, football starts in August, but football's pretty well, then again, like I said, it's going, not so much this year, but next season, it should expand where you should have a freshman team, a JV team, varsity team, if the merger situation works out. Is there two in there?
All right.
Okay.
Is that something,
Well, I just don't want-
is that something that we can take a rip on?
Yeah, yeah.
I
Go
got
your route.
$9 bill.
We can deconstruct it over the summer.
Round up some of them, yeah.
I mean,
Make
how
up
hard
the
would it be
round-
personnel wise to issue an extracurricular contract for an assistant coach in the summer?
Oh, it's not. Yeah, this is not
So,
won't be difficult.
Little louder over there, I can't hear you.
You could put it in there and put price tag to it, and then provisional numbers, something like that, and that way, if you do have the numbers, then I'll just do it. Just an
Or look at all of it and come back with a new scale.
I think,
With
I
the
would
math.
say, I think
Just adopt the scale at the time with all of them.
adopted in the first of July.
Yeah,
we got,
with the changes.
but we gotta straighten that up, son. I mean, that's crazy. It's basically, I made 52 cents an hour.
It was dug up back in 1929 when we supposed to do that. See, they make more.
And they all volunteered.
all right, so
And you know,
Okay.
If you can- if you can
put.
put something to number wise, what we can do for that, and then we can put that on future agenda to see if we want to put that in the, or we can talk about it right now. You want to
We
put it on
can
the
just
budget?
update the,
Yeah, update the budget.
the scale, the coaching.
Now?
With the cost.
For the
Yeah.
spring?
Just earmark it like you talked about.
Okay.
I think that's,
Okay.
Mr. Hammond, do you have anything to say?
You're only looking at, you pay
yeah, Mr. Hammer, are you there?
$1,000, you're only looking at.
Oh, okay. So
The coach makes $1,380.
are we looking at volleyball?
Oh, I don't know.
See, that's what I'm saying.
That's what we're-
15, make it 1,500.
All right, what do we have? What do we got next?
What we got next?
Do you have any questions? Whitney, do you want to, is there anything you guys want to talk about in budget? In this budget work session?
So we're gonna put it in the line in there for an assistant, volleyball provisionally. And it's going to be $1,140 for the high school. Is that also the middle school though?
Well, I would say yes, if the numbers are there, yeah. And then we can, over the summer, we can take a
Look at the rest.
opportunity to look at the rest of them like you're talking about.
They don't have to
And
coach.
I'll update that page for you. We did find that there was on the back of it, a service personnel supplement.
Where,
Medicaid billing, we've been paying Medicaid billing, but it's not been on the schedule for, that we can find. so we're gonna be adding that there. And then for the, professional, you asked about the special education resource teacher.
Uh-huh,
That was removed in 2008 because the people were moving to curriculum.
okay.
Okay, I'll be removing that. And then
We,
attendance director.
yeah, there's an issue with, if you look, our director's pay, go to, it's in tab 3. It's like the 4th page. It's the administrative supplemental pay schedule. And this is just something we found that's duplicated, or we just need to correct it. Under the attendance director, or the director's pay, it's $400 calendar month plus $5 a day employment. Okay? If you flip to the next page, it has attendance director again, $5 a day of employment. To me, that's $10 a day, right? We don't know why that other one was there. He's been getting $5.
We fixed it.
It's
because this was approved.
Yeah, so, because it's actually in there. Do you see where I'm talking?
Yeah,
Okay, so it's got $5 here, and then on the next page, it's got $5.
great.
Okay, if you change that, so I said, well, that looks like it's $10 a day. The issue is, if under director, $400 a calendar month plus $5 a day. If we just change that to $10 a day, correct, Mr. Kirby, then it affects Mr. Gibson and Jill Fratto, because we only have 3 directors. Would you be opposed to just making that $10 a day? It's about, what, $1,000? Jim's already been approved for that.
So which one are we changing? The director part?
Well, yes,
And then we
Director
removed
position
the
as well.
attendance director off the second page.
because he's got
Oh,
a
then you're taking
separate.
attendance director off,
Yes.
Yeah, you would remove that one because it's duplicated.
and then changing the, on the other page, the director to 10,
Then that's $10 a day.
and or go to the 400.
So Jim's already making that, but it does affect Mr. Gibson and Mrs. Fratto, because we only have 3 directors. To correct it, we're either gonna have to take 5 from him, which I don't think he would like that.
Okay,
It's a correction.
and what was the difference between the professional accountant and the certified public accountant? What's the difference?
A certified public accountant is additional licensure. You have to go through much like a bar exam, to get from CPA. And then the professional accountant means that you have more than 24 hours of accounting class.
Okay.
So you be an accountant, but not a CPA.
This next page on service personnel there.
In that same tab,
Yes, this very next page.
are we okay with correcting that director
Yes,
situation?
yes.
That'll clean it up.
Okay, first personnel.
On the director coordinators there,
Yes.
we have, looks like 2, and I'm looking at back to 2015, it's the same. And then the bus supervisors, doesn't look like those people had any pay raise since 2015, 16.
Well, except they did 2 additional hours a day of the current pay grade.
That was during that time too.
Now, every year, their current pay grade goes up with their salary and years of service. So they get additional 2 hours a day.
You're talking about
We,
bus.
yeah,
Yes,
we've
At that
calculated.
pay scale.
yes,
Yeah, okay.
that was one of the things that kind of been.
Another thing,
done every year.
all the money went to the bus supervising director. He's the one that's getting all the extra money.
I don't think so, because he's got a different look on his face than you did. So explain that to me, please, then.
They did.
These other folks right here, they've gotten raises or they haven't over here as a director coordinator since 2015. And the bus supervisors, they haven't or they have? Because I see in 2020 to 21, it's the same. It's the same on both of them also.
Anytime it references current pay grade or base, you always have to go back to their base rate. And so that goes back to that service scales, and then there are other supplements calculated calculated in there. So on the bus supervisors, they get 2 additional hours a day, so we figure out what their pay
50
rate is,
hours.
what their hourly rate is a day, with all of their other stuff, and then we just add 2 hours. And then like for the coordinator, directors, they get the additional 15% of the indexes, and talk about how this, talk about the indexes, and you go back to that schedule. So every year you get a pay bump for years of service. And then most recently, we've also got pay raises also added in there, which is also giving them additional increases.
That
So one gets
director,
23%, one gets 15%, is that right?
yeah, they raised that coordinator level B. It was 15, that was raised when Joe Amons was here.
After he left, right?
No, he had gotten that raise. It was cut back without, I hate to say it out loud, poor Dolly. When Danny took the job and we fixed that. Yeah, back to what it was. This was approved before. And then there's the level C. We don't have a coordinator level A. I don't know. Big difference.
Somewhere there's the
Sure. No, I understand. Are you proposing anything in regard to that, or are you just questioning?
I still, maybe I'm just sitting here and not thinking correctly, but if it's the same as it was in 2015, 16 as it is right now, and they get 2 additional hours, are we saying, well, they're not, certainly not getting 2 additional hours every year then, right? But it's per day. So in a sense, they really haven't got a raise.
Yeah, because each year they get a raise,
And
As
then
long
keep
as
that 2
seniority-
additional hours.
and for the state,
Mhm.
I had their
No, I see.
salaries. I did
I
their
see
total
that.
salaries.
Yeah.
And then they also were calculated, their hourly rate calculated, come up to 2 hours, calculated on a 6-hour day.
So what's their hourly rate?
depends on how,
It depends on the person because it is tied to their index of their years of service.
We looked at
This is
those
a
two
very, our
salaries. They're making
very
about-
complicated.
That's why you have to drive and all that.
Yeah, I mean, they're,
That's why we spent several weeks working with education and making
It gives
sure
you-
their pay scales
See,
were
their
correct.
teachers only work for 32. These people have been.
we also looked at different jobs and who were given vehicles. Who have vehicles to drive. too. That's also part of their salary, is if they have a vehicle that they drive every day.
something that we may
Makes a
want to look
difference.
at in the future, under that same, well, no, principal county supplement schedule,
Okay? That's-
under high school. You have level 1, 2, 3, and then 4. But 4 is crazy because it drops down. Like 4 is 0 to 199 students, then it goes to level 1, 200 to 500 students, see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Should there-
they're not in order, are they?
No.
They're not in order.
Okay.
I was afraid to actually correct that, but you want me to, I can make it.
Well, the thing I wanted to ask is, in future reference, with this merger coming about, should we have a level 5? Because it says 700 plus, that's a big difference. If you go 700 plus, that level 3 might be 700 to 900 students. Okay, and then we be adding a level 5 for 900 to 1,200 students.
Right now, it looks like it's 700 to 1,200.
Yes. So that's just future.
Where was that?
About 3
Yeah.
seconds
Oh,
back.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was
3.
somewhere.
So I was just,
We had that question, because I said, what if we're in the situation where you have a larger building we needed to add? It said in there that it was at the discretion possibly,
That's on our supplement.
like you can add.
And that's what you said, well,
Yes, that you can add, because I asked that.
Yeah.
What would,
Tab
what would you,
four?
what would you,
well, I was just looking at,
to bring to
to make it
level 5?
To make it level 5, the principal 1,800 and the assistant 12,008.
well. I
In
think
accordance to
No,
what,
no, I'm talking about if you wanted to put in level 5.
level 5 would be like 900 student, 901
Price
to
wise.
18,000 for the print,
If they go 700 or something, which would be 709.
900. But then the level 5 would be 901 to 1,200, where the principal, if you're looking at and staying consistent with what everything else is, would be 18 for the year for the principal and 12,800 for the assistant principal. If you're staying in line with what, yes,
Supplemental schedule.
901, yes.
That's what it is now.
That's
That's the discrepancy because basically
The amount of students, sure, based on the amount of students.
That's why we put that you can add additional if you feel you need it. You're not
well,
locking
actually,
yourself
that-
in to the $8.99. More flexibility,
You might want to look at middle
900,
schools as well.
like, after,
No, for instance, you might want to look at the middle school as well then, because we're going to have a middle school, it's going to be around 800 students. No,
Yeah, that's-
it said, there's a thing in there that says that we can add more administrators if we feel we need to, in
middle
any
grade above it
situation.
anyway there,
Yeah.
so we gotta, we'd have to look at both.
Because you have to consider
Yeah,
the
I didn't
numbers.
read that, sorry.
Most counties have it just stops
Yeah. and
this amount plus. They don't keep going up, because you,
Yeah, if you get, once you get 1,200, on what happens when you get 1,201?
we never really was
Same, they're,
in,
they're
We just
all
said
in the
plus.
same category, you put the plus beside it.
like the assistant principal at 500 plus for elementary was never really in there. So now it's just as
Now we have how
approved.
many elementary schools
As
with
approved.
500 plus? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, middle schools with 500 plus. We're going to have a couple now, right? No.
What, the middle? I'm talking about the elementary.
It'd be 5 to
500 plus, yeah,
699.
how many do we have with 500 plus?
Middle schools?
Elementary schools? Got 4,
Simpson just went over.
Simpson, Johnson, Big Elm, Nutter Fort.
The two Nutter Forts were not, they were down to 450, but now with the Norwood kids, it's put them at the 500. So they meet the criteria, so, but
Not near
you
middle
still
gonna be
need the
more than
discretion. if you want
699.
that. What's that?
Not near middle gonna be more than,
Oh, yeah.
When they combine.
then you would have to add another level.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we said, you need to look at the elementary.
You can have the levels, they don't fall in,
Yeah.
they don't fall in.
I mean, you can always add.
Yeah.
It's your discretion.
So that would need to be done now,
Because
but
we've done that.
They got something they understand when you work on. Everybody else, we all have opinions.
Like the Nutter Fort schools, both sides, they brought below 500, so technically, at one time, here before the Norwood moved. And we
So-
never removed the assistants there because of the need in those
Right,
buildings.
right.
I
We don't
think those
want to
are,
arbitrarily throw numbers out there. I mean, we want to set something in place and then have you give us kind of an idea of what we're looking at budget-wise. Mhm.
Okay, what happens if if you have an assistant, or a principal and assistant was the, and, on this, at this time, it's these numbers, then what happens if the enrollment drop, and you drop below those numbers? Now, do you go back and take the money back? Or do you leave it?
It is at it's the second.
Well, I said we left it
The
on.
previous year, the previous month, yes, for the previous year. So, the rates are gonna be set for FY 25 based on Schedule 1 enrollment.
that happens at the state level too, right?
Yes.
The indexes at the state level fluctuate based on,
So in other words, you're gonna take away some of the extra money?
If they have, so say they have, say this year in 24, let's just say this year in 24, they had 510 students. Next year, That was in 24, that's what we paid for the 500. In 20, October 1, 35 enrollment comes around, say they have 499. That means in 26, they would drop down a tier.
That's hard.
That is
Kind of
hard.
accept.
But it happens at the state level too.
And you're paid according to your profession, not your service.
If you give them more money, then you take it away, then you got,
It's like we're adding a lot of additional support staff with the aides. There's no additional funding for that for an administrator. It's based on the number of professionals in your building.
We don't
Yeah.
have it.
So there's a lot of things like that that's interesting when it comes to administrative pay. Yeah.
So level 5, do we want to talk about level 5? Do we want to look at that?
Level 5?
Yeah.
So level 5 would be 901 plus. If you're staying in line with what's there, it would be 1,800 or 18,000 for principal, for the principal, and 12,800 for the assistant principal.
and if you have,
You will.
well, if you have,
Well, that's according to
if
this.
you understand, you have 2 or 3 principals, assistants.
Well, you would have definitely have more assistants in
then
that
they all
situation.
get that.
Then if you did the middle school, level 3 would be 500 to 699,
Level 4.
and level 4 would be 700 plus.
So
Principal would be 14.
Mhm.
Somebody's gonna have to help me out with the assistant.
I missed that day in math class.
993. Well, yeah, no, it'd be 9, 8, no,
If we raise the 2,000 to 1,400,
94.
We want that for there.
Yeah,
do you want to go to level 5?
Level
If you
4,
have, if Liberty Munis comes out that you have over 900 kids, you can
well, we have a level 4. That's what she was
That's what she
saying.
just talked about.
Yeah,
level 4 is 700 plus.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that would
Level
cover
4
that.
would be 700 plus.
They don't do that.
But for what you have left.
I don't think you'll have more than 900.
700 plus.
Yeah, but
I don't
there's
think so.
how much?
Most we ever got 700.
This is high school. This is high school.
Yeah, but what about middle school, to high school? If you have
So-
middle school, you have-
The 12,000 for level 3, right? If you had 700 plus, 14,000, and then for the assistant, 9,400.
That'd be okay.
That would be
But
okay.
when you
It's
go
gonna
somebody
be-
at the high school, down here, it doesn't matter down the high school, as long as it goes over that, that's what they're gonna get. They're not gonna be big raise.
Yeah.
I don't
You
know.
can have elementary.
He didn't actually not want to change it.
Yes, but that's what level 5 is, that we're
They
talking
get
about.
almost over 7.
What are they now?
Not now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And a middle school building, if you have over.
I mean, Johnson's getting close.
See what I'm
Johnson's
saying?
over 7 now.
Yeah, right, that's-
These numbers, middle school, high school,
Johnson's, I mean,
should be the same.
gotta look.
They all the same.
This is about like-
Just different figures.
Sure, larger.
Well,
Oh, yeah, much
That's
your
right.
salary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
700 plus.
No.
You know, if you leave them as is, you're.
So would we,
Start doing that.
Superintendent Sutler, can we put together a meeting, a supplementary, like you guys have a committee together, and I wouldn't be opposed if Mr. Tucker and Mrs. Smith would like to be on a committee to review this. and come up with something
Oh, I can do that.
administratively.
Yeah, we can look at it.
But I just don't think that there's gonna be such a discrepancy. High school.
To make it equitable and fair.
I think they gotta be pretty much the same.
Well, if we get a committee, you study it.
Yeah,
And that's, you're talking, this is getting big.
Wait, they're just.
Yeah, we're talking big money. You're talking big money. And if it's gonna happen, it needs to be something that we do equitably.
Talk about how.
We need to do it equitably if it's gonna happen. Were you gonna say something, Mrs. Combs?
I was trying to figure out the timing.
I would say, yeah.
I have to publish the documentation.
Oh,
So the salary scale doesn't really impact the actual budget. You know what I'm saying? You can make, because that'll be the personnel decision later. So we can keep it in place.
okay. We could still get together so that it can work out. Yes, okay, that's fine.
You gotta be careful not to increase the ones that are currently working. So that's creates a whole other-
This is for you.
My argument is, you know, is, I just don't see how you can have such a big difference between a high school, middle school principal and a high school principal. And an elementary principal, you gotta keep them pretty much uniform. I work on both levels, and I just think it's,
Well, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're gonna have.
Yeah.
To look at it, to address it so that it can be equitable.
I'll definitely, Mr. Code, I'll definitely do fight for middle school.
out of order.
I won't fight for elementary, even though
There we
the
go.
ship has
There we
sailed.
go.
The ship has sailed, right? We can fight for it.
And I'll just stick with the-
Especially, we were fighting.
Yes.
All right.
I have a question.
All right, so we got. that
Moving
set.
on to the facility improvement project requests.
Oh,
Like,
Tab 9, I think it's.
this
tab
number
10.
that's on here, like, I know, you know where it says school funded?
Yes.
Like, I know that they've already done, like, they've already started on the girls' locker with the high school, at Bridgeport High School. So does this number still stay in here, or is it this year?
That should have been taken out. That was this year. They're doing that this year.
You should have
So-
some completion.
Should this be updated then? I mean,
I thought we removed that because that's already in place.
well, because it says right here, year 2025.
There's,
There is, there's something that looks like it's, they need flooring, painting, wall, ceiling, air conditioner installed, like, that needs the first one.
I saw that.
Oh, yeah, all right. Well, maybe Mr. Dennison is really, he's already into it, then, yes, this was what was provided.
So I was just wondering,
We started on the budget process in January.
right,
Let me double check to see where they are with that and then I'll.
what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do we need to update this?
Well, that's what, I can, I'll find out whether that's finished and I'll give it a quick.
Okay.
Mr. Vaughn, ask Mr. Lopez a question. Whenever the request, the wish list comes in from the principals of the schools, does this come to you? Does it get narrowed down before? Or is this just everyone's wish list here? Total.
That is everything that came in.
Okay.
Because everything came in was considered. We didn't remove anything. Now, we might have changed the year that, it'd be projected to be funded.
So that's good for them to know that too.
Well, the only reason why I was asking was because I didn't know if this number is in the budget. You know what I mean?
See
Or,
where it says budget maintenance?
yes.
But that means it's already in the budget.
So all I'm thinking is if it's already done, does that change your numbers? Does that affect you at all?
No,
Okay, fine.
it comes within the- Yeah, there's always maintenance.
Okay, that's all I needed to
But
know.
the other thing that's not reflected on here are the wish list they had that went from 26, 27, 28.
Okay.
No,
Probably gave you the correct. I was just questioning whether that affected you.
Okay.
It all worked out. It all worked out.
So, are there any more questions?
The only other thing is that the medical allotment,
Oh, the additional medical allotment increase, what have we decided on that? I think she gave that to you
yes,
last
do we
time.
have to vote on that, or do we have to?
The town makes
Yep, that's all it is, if it's included in the budget or not. And then you'll, yeah, and then you, when you vote on the budget, it'll
Yeah.
be in,
We should, yes. Yes.
Part of what we voted on.
yes. Yes. Mr. Hammond, can you hear us?
Yes,
Okay.
Do you have anything, Gary, that you want to talk about budget-wise? Any questions?
No, other than that, for the medical allotment, it is going to move forward with that, is that correct?
Yes.
that was the
Yeah, she's gonna put it in the budget.
Okay, the final document. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Glad you got that.
The only other thing I wanted to ask, when it comes to educational resources, what are we doing to address vocabulary? Is it in particular a line item, or is it just lumped into educational resources, because that's our weak area? And I'd like to,
This would be Julian Pan, because of the middle school. She's asking about addressing vocabulary. You know how we specifically address phonics, and what is there something that we could do to address vocabulary? Because that was a weakness in the overall testing. A supplement?
okay, and do we need to put something in the budget for that, or is it?
Yeah, we put something that has, like,
Okay, so we won't have money.
It's under
Okay.
instructional supplies. We will find something.
Okay,
For vocabulary.
okay.
It's gonna be like something, but something that goes with that.
Just a random.
That was it. Oh, one other thing, secure entrances, where are we?
Yeah, we were awarded for RCB, Mountaineer Middle, and Liberty.
Okay,
And then we have, Bridgeport Middle School and South Harrison Middle School. We believe that we can do in-house. The complicated one is Bridgeport High School, but it's a massive restructure, so we don't have an answer for that.
It's probably a building.
Yeah.
It's gonna be building.
I think we're going to have to probably get some funding. Doing
$1 million that you get. So you're talking about additions to $1 million. So we don't probably give you
Well, I'm talking for like Bridgeport High School itself.
in addition to what.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to have to apply.
and then whatever needs done to Liberty, Mountaineer Middle, and RCB, that's in the budget?
Capital improvements.
Yeah. We have some funding. Our intent is to go after money in the fall.
Match, maybe.
Again.
Okay,
Yes.
For next cycle.
We're putting together all the things that we're going for in the fall
okay.
for additional funding. There's going to be funding available.
Any about the excess levy funds or anything like that, guys have? So the last thing that I have is the special education funding from the excess levy, 44,000. It seems a little bit light to me. And I know that, some of the things that we're talking about, that I've been worried about in regards to reading and mathematics, some of the other areas. Should we look at funding a little bit more of that?
our special education staff does a really good job with documentation. And very fortunate that I have never seen the event of, supplemental grants that we get. Due to their diligence in getting documentation, so we use that to buy additional instructional materials.
And also Medicaid health.
Yes, and
Yes.
disability. We have other sources other than that. The excess levy money is for the schools to use, and for schools to provide that. But all they need to do is ask an additional resources.
So you have, you said grants, how many, you know, how many grants?
Yeah, there's, so we have our federal grants, we have our state grants, and then we also get a high community grants, federal and state. And we pay those periodically now. Then on those, we do the capital next year, but I'm not seeing the second. Plus, we allocate some, that 7 days.
Yes. All right, any other questions? No. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
We just leave them.